Meantime, a major rescue, recovery, and cleanup operation is underway in Southeast Asia. A combination of monsoon rains, a cyclone, and a typhoon have created widespread flooding and landslides. More than 1,000 people are dead across Indonesia, Sri Lanka, and Thailand. Hundreds more are still missing. Some areas are unreachable because of damaged roads and downed power lines. Those who are cut off are now relying on aircraft to get aid, deliveries, and supplies. The extreme weather now making its way to India. For more on this now, I'm joined by freelance journalist David Gunumbaun. He joins us live from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. David, appreciate your time here on CBC Morning Live. I want to start with Indonesia, where Sumatra Island was hit very, very hard. Give us a sense of the situation right now on the ground.
Yeah, well, the death toll right now up to almost 600 people, hundreds more still missing, 300,000 people displaced. This is the worst natural disaster to hit Indonesia since an earthquake in 2018. Now, the government has deployed Navy warships, which have humanitarian aid. They've also deployed hospital ships, which of course have medical care and doctors on board to try to treat people. And they can bring these into the air, into some of the larger areas where they're needed for help. But there are so many communities that are completely cut off because there were landslides that have made the roads impassable, and there's just not enough heavy equipment to clear these roads. And these villages, some of them are cut off. Not only can they not be reached on land, but the communication lines are down. So authorities have not been able to communicate with anyone in some of these villages to find out how bad the situation is. And so one of the things we need to keep in mind here, when you have disasters like this, there are people who survive the initial floods, but then die in the days right after because they're often running low on food and water, and they may need medical care right away, and the aid just does not get to them in time.
Now, that is a good point. We've talked about that before with the hurricane that hit Jamaica and just different times like that. The initial hit doesn't always cause a crazy amount of deaths. It sometimes does, but the majority, a lot of the deaths come from just later on, just from people just being stranded, not being able to get help, medications, and they're not being able to get medication, all that kinds of stuff. Let's keep going.
Thing I should point out, there are reports coming out of Sumatra Island of people looting convenience stores of food and water because they're just running out. Again, they have not been able to get aid to a lot of the people who need it yet.
Indeed, devastating, very difficult situation there. David, as you also point out, literally being cut off. I want to move north to Sri Lanka and Thailand. What is the situation like in those two countries?
So Sri Lanka, the death toll about 355 people, hundreds still missing there. About 500,000 people have needed humanitarian aid. There's widespread flooding in both rural and urban areas. Colombo, the biggest city, so many neighborhoods completely swamped. People were rescued by aid teams who were on boats. They were pulled off their rooftops and their second floors. There's also hospitals that have been completely swamped with floodwaters. The UN has put out concerns about waterborne diseases spreading, so a real serious situation there. The government has asked for international help. They've been getting it from Japan and India and other countries. Now, if we move over to Thailand, the death toll at 176. The area that was hit hardest, the city of Hat Yai, got 355 millimeters of rain in just one day. But the good news for Thailand is that the floodwaters are receding.
David, really appreciate the update on this extremely devastating situation out there, and I know you'll follow it for us. David Gunumbaun is in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Thanks again.
Absolutely tragic situation. So overall, they're saying 1,000 people have died from the storm in Southeast Asia. Let's get over into this next video.
As floods recede and reveal the trail of destruction left by torrential rains in Indonesia, Thailand, and Malaysia, officials have reported a rising death toll. That is in the wake of a rare tropical storm formed in the Malacca Strait, unleashing devastating downpours and powerful winds which lasted for a week across Southeast Asia. By Monday, officials had reported more than 500 dead in Indonesia, over 170 in Thailand, and several in Malaysia. In Indonesia's West Sumatra province, a wall is all that's left of one family's home after cyclonic rain struck the region.
Ini rumah saya, rumah pribadi. This was my home. I have 9 of my family members here. We have nothing left. Everything was gone. We only have the clothes on our backs. We couldn't bring anything else.
Dan aja yang dibawa, nggak ada semuanya yang dibawa yang bisa dikeluarkan karena air itu titik
When it happened, the water just rose up to the house and we were afraid, so we fled.
pergi lari
And then we came back on Friday and the house was gone, destroyed.
kejadian itu sesudah Jumat rumahnya habis ada lagi kegiatan hancur semuanya.
Rescue and aid efforts are struggling to reach parts of the province as landslide debris blocks roads and communication and power lines remain down. In southern Thailand, residents in Hat Yai have started to clean up after a week of downpours, which left piles of cars stuck on roads and muddied homes and businesses. Some shop owners resorted to selling heavily damaged goods at big discounts.
I need to clear the stock. The condition they're in after being flooded, shoes soaked and ruined like this. People don't have clothes, right? So I'm helping by selling everything cheaply so they can have something to wear.
In Malaysia's northern Perlis state, paddy fields look like the sea as nonstop rain submerged stretches of land. One farmer said the rains have completely ruined his fields. Relief and rescue efforts continue across all 3 countries. But with hundreds still missing and millions affected, the region faces a long road to recovery.
Wow, absolutely crazy. Some of that was farmland. People were, oh, God. Let's get over into this next video.
The death toll from floods and landslides in Indonesia alone passed 600 on Monday as rescuers battled to clear roads and rescue trapped residents. Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand were struck by a rare tropical storm that unleashed torrential rains and winds for a week. As the skies cleared, the scope of the disaster is now coming into focus. The number of dead approached 800 across Southeast Asia.
Ini bangunannya dari sini, ini musola.
In Indonesia's West Sumatra province, Muhammad Rais pointed to what he said used to be a house and a mosque, his parents' house, his brother's house, and his in-laws.
Mak tuwo.
He said there were 12 people here. 2 didn't survive. He said his mother and mother-in-law were sick and could not walk. In neighboring Malaysia, 11,600 people were still in evacuation centers, according to the country's disaster agency. It said it was still on alert for a second and third wave of flooding. The devastation in the 3 countries follows months of adverse and deadly weather in Southeast Asia, including typhoons that have lashed the Philippines and Vietnam. Scientists have warned that extreme weather events will become more frequent as a result of global warming. In Indonesia's Palambayan, row after row of houses had collapsed, and streets were littered with debris carried by landslides and floodwaters. Rescue teams were seen carrying away a body across a swath of rural land now covered in uprooted trees and household furniture. Indonesia's recovery efforts include restoring roads, bridges, and telecommunications services. Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto visited 3 of the affected provinces on Monday and praised residents for their spirit in the face of what he called a catastrophe. More than 28,000 homes have been damaged in Indonesia and 1.5 million people affected, according to the country's disaster agency.
That is devastating. That is truly devastating. It's, all we can do is pray. All we can do is pray for them because they said weeks. They either said a week or weeks of heavy downpour. And in total, it ended up with over the different news outlets saying over 1,000 people had died. You can't imagine it. It's something you can't imagine. But these are the things we have to look at because some of these things aren't getting brought to the news. Some people aren't talking about this. It's a tragic situation, and we got to pray for the other side of the world. Now, here they mentioned something that I would like to talk about: global warming. How do you believe in global warming? Some people don't believe in it. Some people saying it's just made up. But they're saying that because of global warming, these horrible storms and deadly storms are going to get more and more common. Let me know your thoughts, y'all. Let me know your thoughts. Absolutely crazy. It's a crazy world we live in, but we got to keep reviewing the world together. We have to keep reviewing the world together. All right, everybody, remember this is AC Reviews the World. Remember to like and subscribe.